This is the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling.
What the world is watching.
Welcome to the portal of pro wrestling, you guys. It's the Wrestling Old Head, and I would want to do a quick video where we talk about Mariah May for a second. I've been a big fan, and as you've been watching and following this channel, I'm sure you know I've been a big fan of the Mariah May story with Toni Storm. I believe it's one of the better storylines that the AEW has produced since its inception. I think it's been really, really well done. One of the flaws that I saw during that story was when Toni Storm disappeared after her loss at All In. I believe it was All In. You didn't really see a whole lot from Mariah May thereafter. She showed up on Collision a lot. There wasn't a real story. I think she had a couple of programs with Anna Jay and things like that, but it didn't seem like they had a lot for her. It seemed like she was just kind of circling the drain a little bit until Toni Storm returned. And now on the internet, if you're following X or YouTube, algorithm, they're saying that Mariah May's contract is coming up. Now, AEW is letting a lot of people leave subsequently, and I don't know why. I would assume because it's just freeing up space. The roster is just overbloated. It always has been, and they don't have Rampage anymore, and I'm sure they're trying to really just focus on their core superstars to really get an identity, to get a brand identity for AEW, which is something that they sorely need. They need to have an identity. What exactly is AEW? For a while, I felt that they should have their tag team division be their heavyweight division. Guys like Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin on the top, and some of their more heavyweight guys that are left sitting around, like the Lance Archers and the Brian Cages. You start to see that kind of formulating already, but those are the types of guys that you build the tag division around, whereas now your world title division has Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Hangman Adam Page, Ricochet, MJF, those guys that are, and Will Ospreay, those are the guys that are there, Jay Whites, etc. And then you got, the Adam Copelands and the Christian Cages, those guys find their way into the tag team division. That's where I feel like that distinction should start for AEW. So then you can get an idea of what they're presenting. For their women's division, they really have a strong roster right now. It's when they get to their end point of a story, they got to figure out how to keep the momentum going on the other side. I understand why Mariah May is taking a little bit of a sabbatical. It's very similar to what Toni Storm did after she lost. That makes sense to me. But when Mariah May comes back, I don't envision her to immediately restart with Toni Storm. I believe that what Mariah May should do is start anew. Maybe a couple of vignettes of her in an insane asylum, writing her name or writing lipstick, lipstick smeared, going crazy because of the love that she had for Toni Storm and it officially being over. This is the sequel to Mariah May's story, and you've got I have all of the confidence in the world of anybody that was a part of this Mariah May Toni Storm story that they're going to have a great second chapter or even second book for this ongoing evolution of the Mariah May character. But is this the end of Mariah May and AEW? Is Mariah May heading to the WWE? I don't know. If I had to theorize it, if they don't have anything planned for Mariah May, and if they aren't giving her the confidence that they do have something on the other side for her, then I believe it is in her best interest and AEW's best interest if they cut ties and let her go. From a business perspective, and as a fan of the story between Toni Storm and Mariah May, which can be a feud that they revisit every couple of years in the AEW, for the amount of press they got, for the amount of momentum in the women's division that they got, they need to do whatever they can to keep Mariah May in the AEW and on their roster. but they have to have a plan, whether it is working with Harley Cameron, whether it is a reinvention of her character, whether she goes after another title, whether she starts to head up the Ring of Honor women's division as Athena starts to make her way into the AEW and feud with Mercedes Moné. They have to have a plan for Mariah May in order to keep her, because you don't want her swimming the drain, disappearing for a while, and then coming back and just having a match. There needs to be a follow-up. This is a very unique story in AEW because AEW is just another brand, man. It's just another form of professional wrestling that fans of the WWE may not be accustomed to, right? If you like the WWE style of professional wrestling, AEW tries to give you a hodgepodge, a cornucopia, if you will, of all these different styles of wrestling. So one thing that they're doing in this amalgamation of wrestling styles is they're giving you a little entertainment with this Toni Storm and Mariah May. And me, as a fan of wrestling entertainment, as far as storylines that go into that follow like a television or a movie plot, this was just chef's kiss for me. So to continue that with Mariah May, you gotta have a sequel for her. Toni Storm obviously going with Megan Bayne now. She's probably going to go through her orgy of violence with some of the other women on the roster, and she can toy around with all these different types of talents there until Jamie Hayter's ready to come back after her visa issue, until she finally has that confrontation with Mercedes Moné, which I feel like is on the horizon as well. You can do a whole bunch of things with Toni Storm right now, but as far as Mariah May, you really don't want her to get lost in the shuffle. You don't want her to get into a scenario where you don't know where she's at. She might be on Collision, she might show up in a match on Dynamite, but there's really no momentum and there's no idea what to do with her until eventually she shows up and has another match with Toni Storm. You don't want that for her. You want a plan. And if they have that plan, I swear they need to keep and hold on to Mariah May, because she was a big part of why the fans had a lot of interest in AEW last year. And this Hollywood ending match has been the talk of AEW for a long time. So you really want to retain that type of talent. They've done a good job of honing her talents and bringing her up into prominence. So you don't want to give that away to the WWE, because she's been seasoned. She's been trained to walk right into the NXT program and be a freaking superstar. So you don't want her to get out of your grasps. That's my opinion on that. But what do you guys think? You think it's the time is ending for Mariah May and AEW? Do you think that Hollywood ending was metaphorical and theoretical? And actually, is it going to happen? Are we going to see her walk out and close the curtains on her career in AEW? You guys let me know in the comments. And I'll have more stuff from AEW in the next couple of videos. But until then, stay tuned for more.